The massive alien ship moved through space like a dark mountain floating among the stars. Its metal hull stretched for miles, covered in strange symbols that glowed with blue light. Inside the ship, Commander Valterra stood on the bridge, watching Earth grow larger on her screens. "Such a small world," she said to her crew. "Hard to believe these humans think they can resist us." The bridge buzzed with activity as alien officers worked at their stations. Their technology was far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Weapons that could destroy entire cities. Shields that could stop any attack. Ships that could travel between stars in days instead of years. Commander Valterra was tall and proud, with silver skin that reflected the bridge lights. Her people, the Altarians, had conquered dozens of worlds. Earth would be no different. She looked at the data about human technology and laughed. "They still use chemical rockets," she told her science officer. "Their fastest ships take months to reach their own moon. It will be easier than taking candy from a child." Her crew nodded and smiled. They had seen this before. Primitive worlds always thought they were special. They always believed they could fight back. They were always wrong. Far below on Earth, Dr. Kim Dae-ho stared at his computer screens in his underground office. The numbers made no sense. Something huge was approaching from deep space, something that should not exist. "Get me the president," he said into his phone. Now, Dr. Kim had spent his whole life studying space. He ran the International Space Defense Initiative, a program most people thought was a waste of money. Why prepare for alien invasion when no aliens existed? But Kim knew better. He had been watching the stars for 20 years, waiting for this day. The phone rang 3 times before someone answered. "Sir, this is Dr. Kim Dae-ho. We have a situation. A big one. Doctor, it's 3 in the morning. It's better be important. Sir, we are about to have first contact with alien life. Multiple ships. They're heading straight for Earth." The line went quiet for a long moment. "How long do we have?" 18 hours until they reach Earth's orbit. "I'll call an emergency meeting. Get your data ready." Dr. Kim hung up and rubbed his tired eyes. He had prepared for this moment his entire career. He had written reports that no one read. He had given speeches that no one believed. Now it was happening, and he felt completely unprepared. Across the city, Captain Park Min-woo received an urgent message on his military communicator. He was sleeping in his quarters aboard the Earth defense ship Soul's Pride, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. The message was short and clear. "All hands to battle stations." This is not a drill. Captain Park jumped out of bed and pulled on his uniform. He had commanded Soul's Pride for 2 years, but they had never faced a real threat. Most people thought his ship was just for show, a way for politicians to say they were protecting Earth. Now, everything was about to change. He ran to the bridge where his crew was already working. Lieutenant Yoon Soo-jin looked up from her tactical station. "Captain, we are picking up massive energy readings from the outer system. Multiple contacts. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." "How many ships?" Captain Park asked. "At least 50, maybe more." "They're huge, sir. Each one is 10 times the size of our largest ship." Captain Park felt his stomach drop. Soul's Pride was Earth's most powerful warship, but it was still tiny compared to what was coming. The whole Earth defense fleet had only 12 ships. Against 50 alien vessels, they would last about 5 minutes. "Get me Admiral Chen on the emergency channel," he ordered. Ensign Lee Taemin worked quickly at his communication station. "Channel open, sir." "Admiral, this is Captain Park. Are you seeing what we're seeing?" "I'm seeing it, Captain. Orders are simple. Defensive positions only. Do not fire unless fired upon. We need to see what they want. Eh? What if what they want is our surrender? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But remember, Park, we represent all of humanity right now. Whatever happens, we act with honor." The alien fleet continued toward Earth. On the bridge of the lead ship, Commander Valterra watched the small human vessels move into position. She counted them easily. 12 ships, each one smaller than her shuttlecraft. They're actually trying to defend themselves, her weapons officer said. Should we destroy them now? Not yet, Commander Valterra replied. Let them hear our message first. It's more fun when they realize how hopeless their situation is. She opened a communication channel to Earth. Her voice would be broadcast to every radio and television on the planet. People of Earth, I am Commander Valterra of the Galactic Coalition. Your world has been selected for integration into our alliance. You have 72 hours to surrender all military forces and submit to Coalition authority. Resist, and your cities will burn. This is your only warning. The message ended. Across Earth, billions of people heard those words and felt fear like nothing they had ever experienced. In his office, Dr. Kim Dae-ho listened to the message and felt something else. Anger. He pulled out an old file from his desk, one marked with the highest security classification. Inside were documents that few people had ever seen. Ancient records, archaeological reports, evidence of something the government had kept secret for decades. He picked up his phone and called Captain Park directly. Captain, I need to tell you something. Something important. There are things about Earth's history that you don't know. Things that might change everything. Doctor, now might not be the best time for history lessons. Captain, what if I told you that humanity didn't start on Earth? What if I told you that we're not as helpless as we think we are? Captain Park paused. I'd say you sound crazy, Doctor. But given what's happening up here, crazy might be exactly what we need. Meet me at the classified archives. Bring Lieutenant Yoon and anyone else you trust. What I'm about to show you will change how you see everything. As Earth prepared for the worst 72 hours in human history, ancient secrets began to stir in the darkness between worlds. The aliens thought they knew what humanity was capable of. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The countdown to invasion had begun, but something else was beginning too. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time was starting to wake up. Captain Park, Min-woo, left, soul's pride in the hands of his trusted crew, and took a shuttle down to Earth. The journey felt strange, with alien ships floating in the darkness above. Every few minutes, his communicator crackled with updates from the fleet. The aliens were just watching, waiting. He met Dr. Kim Dae-ho at a building that looked like any other government office, but this building had no signs and no windows. Armed guards checked his identification 3 times before letting him inside. Captain, thank you for coming, Dr. Kim said as they walked down a long hallway. I know this seems crazy, but you need to see this. They took an elevator that went down much deeper than any normal building needed. When the doors opened, Captain Park saw something that made him stop breathing for a moment. The room was huge, carved out of solid rock. The walls were covered with symbols that looked like nothing human, but somehow they felt familiar. What is this place? Captain Park asked. This is Site 7, Dr. Kim replied. One of 12 locations around the world where we found these symbols. We've been studying them for 40 years. Lieutenant Yoon Soo-jin joined them 20 minutes later. She had left the ship when Captain Park called for her. Eyes went wide when she saw the underground chamber. Are these alien symbols? She asked. That's what we thought at first, said Professor Choi Hai-won as she walked into the room. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. But the more we studied them, the more we realized something impossible. These symbols are human, but they're older than human civilization. Captain Park looked confused. That doesn't make sense. Professor Choi led them to a large table covered with photographs and documents. Captain, what do you know about human history? Where did we come from? Evolution? We developed on Earth over millions of years. That's what we taught everyone, but it's not the whole truth. She picked up a photograph that showed stone tablets covered in the same symbols. He found these in Egypt, in China, in Peru, and under the ice in Antarctica. Always the same symbols. Always in places that early humans could never have reached. Dr. Kim pulled out more photographs. Then we found this. The image showed a massive structure buried in ice. It looked like a building, but the shape was wrong. Too smooth, too perfect. But where is this? Lieutenant Yoon asked. Antarctica, 2 miles under the ice. We've been secretly studying it for 15 years. Professor Choi opened another file. The structure is made of materials we can't identify. It's been there for at least 50,000 years, maybe longer, and it's not empty. She showed them pictures of the inside. Rooms filled with machines that looked like nothing from Earth. Screens that still glowed with power after thousands of years. Pound in the center, something that made Captain Park's heart race. Is that a star map? He asked. Not just any star map, Dr. Kim said. It shows the location of every star system in our galaxy. And look at this. He pointed to a section of the map that showed lines connecting different stars. These are travel routes, paths between star systems. The builders of this place knew how to travel between stars long before we even invented the wheel. Lieutenant Yoon studied the images carefully. You're saying ancient humans built this? Not ancient humans, Professor Choi corrected. Our ancestors, before they came to Earth. The room went quiet as the implications sank in. Captain Park felt like the ground was shifting under his feet. Are you telling me that humanity didn't start on Earth? Do we think Earth was a colony? Dr. Kim said, a place where some humans came to start over. But they weren't the only ones. The star map shows dozens of worlds where humans lived. Professor Choi pulled out another set of photographs. These symbols appear on ruins found on Mars and on the Moon, and on asteroids throughout the solar system. Wherever we look, we find evidence that humans were here long before recorded history. But what happened to them? Lieutenant Yoon asked. Where did they go? We don't know, Dr. Kim admitted. Some disaster. Maybe a war. Maybe something else. But before they left, they built something. Something to protect the humans who stayed behind. He led them to a computer terminal that showed readings from deep space. For 20 years, we've been monitoring strange energy signatures from the outer solar system. The readings are strongest near Pluto, but we've never been able to find the source. Until now, Professor Choi added. Since the aliens arrived, the energy readings have been increasing. Something out there is waking up. Captain Park looked at the data. The energy levels were enormous, far beyond anything human technology could produce. You'd think there's something out there, something our ancestors left behind. We think there's a ship, Dr. Kim said quietly. A very big ship, and it's been waiting. Lieutenant Yoon checked her communicator. Captain, we're getting reports from the fleet. Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy readings from the Kuiper Belt. Something's happening out there. Dr. Kim and Professor Choi looked at each other with expressions of hope and fear. The Guardians, Professor Choi whispered. The legends were true. What legends? Captain Park asked. She pulled out one final document. It was written in multiple languages, but the meaning was clear. Every human culture has stories about protectors who watch from the dark. Angels, spirits, guardians. We always thought they were just myths. But what if they weren't? Dr. Kim said. What if our ancestors left something behind? Something to protect us when we needed it most. Above them, the alien fleet continued its silent watch over Earth. Commander Velterra monitored her instruments with growing concern. Her sensors were detecting energy readings that made no sense. Something was out there in the darkness beyond Pluto. Something that was getting stronger by the hour. Science Officer Keth Moore, she called. What are you reading from the outer system? The alien officer studied his screens with confusion. Energy signatures that don't match any known technology. The readings are off the scale. Could it be a human weapon? Impossible. The humans barely have fusion power. This is something else entirely. Commander Velterra felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature on her bridge. Her years of conquest. She had never encountered anything like this. The humans were supposed to be primitives. Their technology was laughably basic. So, what was generating enough power to light up half the solar system? Back on Earth, Captain Park made a decision that would change everything. Dr. Kim, I need you to give me everything you have on these energy readings. Coordinates, frequencies, everything. What are you planning? I'm going to take Soul's Pride out there. Something's waking up. I want to be there when it happens, Professor. Choi grabbed his arm. Captain, if we're right about this, you could be making contact with technology that's beyond our understanding. Technology that's been sleeping for thousands of years. Captain Park looked at the star map on the wall, at the lines connecting worlds across the galaxy, at the evidence that humanity was far more than they had ever imagined. Then it's time for us to remember who we really are. The countdown to invasion continued, but now something else was counting down as well. In the dark space beyond Pluto, ancient systems were coming online. Weapons that had slept for millennia were charging their power cells. And somewhere in the cold emptiness, a ship larger than mountains was preparing to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened the children of the stars. The 72-hour deadline was almost over. On Earth, people watched their screens in fear as news reporters counted down the final hours. In space, the human defense fleet waited in formation around Earth, their small ships dwarfed by the massive alien vessels. Captain Park Minwoo stood on the Bridge of Souls, his pride as they moved away from Earth toward the outer solar system. His crew was nervous, but determined. Lieutenant Yoon Soo-jin monitored their sensors while Ensign Lee Taemin tried to make contact with whatever was out there in the darkness. Captain, we're approaching the coordinates Dr. Kim gave us. Lieutenant Yoon reported. Energy readings are going crazy. I have never seen anything like this. Can you see anything visually? Captain Park asked. Nothing yet, just empty space. But the energy signatures are getting stronger. Behind them, the alien fleet had begun to move. Commander Velterra had run out of patience with the humans. Their deadline was up, and it was time to show them the price of resistance. All ships, prepare to attack Earth's orbital stations, she commanded. We'll destroy their pathetic fleet first, then move on to their cities. The coalition warships powered up their weapons. Beams of pure energy began charging in massive cannons that could crack planets. The human ships looked like toys floating in a bathtub compared to the alien fleet. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the radio to all Earth ships. All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. We knew this day might come. We may not win this fight, but we'll show them that humans don't give up. Without a battle, all ships engage at will. The first shots came from the alien fleet. Beams of energy that could melt steel struck the human ships. 3 Earth vessels exploded in the first 10 seconds. The remainder scattered, firing their missiles and energy. Weapons at targets they could barely hurt. Captain Park watched the battle from far away, his heart breaking as he saw his fellow humans dying. Ensign Lee, any response from the outer system? Nothing yet, Captain. But wait. Lee Taemin's eyes went wide as he stared at his instruments. Sir, I'm getting something. A signal. It's faint, but it's there. What kind of signal? I don't. No, it's not like any human technology I've ever seen. The frequency is strange. It's almost like it's coming from somewhere else entirely. On Earth, Dr. Eun Ji-soo watched the space battle through the massive telescope at the Deep Space Observatory. She was monitoring the battle when something impossible happened. The space around Pluto began to shimmer and bend like hot air rising from pavement. That's not possible, she whispered to herself. Space doesn't do that. Her instruments went wild as energy readings spiked beyond anything they could measure. The shimmer grew larger and brighter until it looked like a star was being born in the outer solar system. Then something appeared. It was a ship. Calling it a ship was like calling an ocean a puddle. The vessel was the size of a small moon. Dark metal covered in lines of blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Its design was unlike anything human or alien. It looked organic and mechanical at the same time, as if it had grown rather than been built. Dr. Onjisu grabbed her radio. With shaking hands, "This is Deep Space Observatory to all stations. We have a contact. Repeat, we have a massive contact appearing in the outer system. Ship is approximately 800 kilometers long. Across Earth, people stopped what they were doing to stare at their screens. The mysterious ship filled their televisions and computer monitors. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. On the bridge of Soul's Pride, Captain Park felt his breath catch in his throat. My God, Dr. Kim was right. The ancient vessel began to broadcast on frequencies that Earth's radios had never heard before. But somehow, the message came through in perfect Korean, spoken in dialects so old they sounded like poetry. Children of the void, the voice said. The compact is remembered. The Guardians wake. Ensign Lee Taman worked frantically at his station. Captain, the signal is getting stronger. It's like the ship is scanning us, learning our language. Its ascendants of Earth, the voice continued, now speaking in modern Korean. We have slept long in the dark between worlds, but the call has been heard. The Guardians return to protect the children of the stars. In the alien fleet, Commander Valterra stared at her screens in disbelief. Her sensors showed energy readings that violated everything she knew about physics. The human ship in front of her was producing more power than some stars. Science Officer Kath Moore analyzed that vessel immediately, she ordered. The alien officer worked at his station with growing panic. Commander, the readings don't make sense. The ship's hull is made of materials I can't identify. Its power source is generating energy levels that should be impossible. How is that possible? The humans are primitives. Don't think they are. Commander, look at these scans. Kethmore put his readings on the main screen. The mysterious ship's technology showed patterns that matched ancient ruins found across a dozen coalition worlds. Ruins that were billions of years old. Commander, Kethmore said quietly, I think we may have made a terrible mistake. The ancient ship began to move, but it didn't travel through space the normal way. Instead, space seemed to fold around it. One moment it was near Pluto. The next moment it appeared beside the battle near Earth. Captain Ru Sang-ho opened his eyes for the first time in 50,000 years. He was lying in a chamber filled with blue light, connected to the ship's systems by threads of energy that ran through his body like veins. Memories flooded back to him. Memories of humanity's golden age among the stars. Memories of the great exodus when everything went wrong. Memories of the promise to watch over those who stayed behind. Ship, report status, he said, his voice rough from ages of sleep. Captain Ru, all systems are operational. The children of Earth are under attack. Defensive protocols are active. Captain Ru sat up and looked at screens that showed him that battle. Human ships were dying while alien vessels continued their attack on Earth. His descendants, his people, were fighting for their lives against enemies who thought they were weak. How long have I slept? 53,412 years, Captain, and the other Guardians, sleeping, but ready to wake on your command. 7 Protector-class vessels remain in reserve positions throughout human space. Captain Ru stood and walked to the command center of his ancient ship. The bridge was a wonder of technology that humanity had forgotten how to build. Walls of living metal that responded to thought, weapons that could reshape reality. Engines that could fold space and time. Ship, open a channel to the attacking. Fleet channel, open, Captain. Captain Ru's voice carried the weight of ages as he spoke to the aliens who threatened his people. I am Captain Ru Sang-ho of the Protector-class vessel, Eternal Vigil. You are attacking the children of humanity. Under my protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Commander Valterra received the message and felt fear for the first time in her military career. The voice speaking to her carried authority that made her bones ache. This was not the voice of a primitive human. This was something far older and far more dangerous. Human ship, you are interfering with a legal coalition operation. Withdraw or be destroyed. Captain Ru smiled sadly. Young one, we built the first star roads your people travel. We seeded the technologies you claim as your own. We taught your ancestors to reach for the stars. This is your final warning. Leave our children in peace. The Eternal Vigil powered up weapons that had been sleeping since before the coalition existed. Stars seemed to dim as the ancient ship drew power from the fabric of space itself. The battle for Earth was about to become something no one had ever imagined possible. The myths were waking up, and they were very, very angry. Commander Valterra stared at the massive human ship on her screens and made a decision that would haunt her forever. Pride and fear mixed together in her mind as she gave the order that sealed her fleet's fate. All ships, target the human vessel. Full power weapons. Fire everything we have. The coalition fleet unleashed a barrage of energy beams that could destroy mountains. Plasma cannons fired streams of superheated gas. Missile swarms launched from dozens of ships. The combined firepower was enough to crack a planet's surface. The weapons struck the Eternal Vigil and simply disappeared. Captain Ru Sang-ho watched from his bridge as the alien attacks were absorbed into his ship's shields. The energy didn't bounce off or explode. It just vanished, converted into pure power that made his ancient vessel glow brighter. Interesting, he said calmly. They still use plasma-based weapons. We moved beyond that technology before their ancestors learned to make fire. His ship's AI spoke in a voice like music. Captain, shall we demonstrate proper weapons technology? Yet, give them one more chance to withdraw peacefully. Captain Ru opened communications to the alien fleet. His voice carried sadness that came from seeing the same mistakes repeated across thousands of years. Commander Valterra of the Coalition Fleet. You have just fired upon a Protector-class vessel with weapons we taught your people's ancestors to build. Your plasma technology is based on designs we left in ruins on your homeworld. You're faster than light. Travel uses principles we discovered. Even your ship hulls are made from alloys we created. On the Coalition flagship, Science Officer Keth Moore worked frantically at his station. His readings showed something that made his blood run cold. Commander, he said with a trembling voice, I have completed my analysis of the human ship. Energy signatures match ruins found on 17 different Coalition worlds. Ancient sites that predate our civilizations by millions of years. Commander Valterra felt the universe shifting around her. What are you saying? I'm saying the humans aren't primitives, Commander. They're our ancestors, the first builders. The ones who seeded the galaxy with the technologies we use today. The truth hit the Coalition bridge like a physical blow. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. The primitive humans they had come to conquer were actually the descendants of the greatest civilization that had ever existed. Captain Park Min-woo watched from Seoul's pride as the ancient human ship began to move. But it didn't move like any vessel he had ever seen. Instead of traveling through space, space seemed to fold around it. Captain Lieutenant Yoon Soo-jin said with wonder in her voice, the ship just folded space-time. It moved 3,000 kilometers in an instant without actually traveling. Is that even possible, according to our physics? No, According to their physics, apparently, yes. The Eternal Vigil appeared directly beside the Coalition flagship. Commander Volterra found herself staring at a ship so large that her entire vessel could fit inside one of its weapon ports. Captain Rue's voice filled the Coalition bridge. "Commander, you seem to doubt our capabilities. Perhaps a small demonstration is in order." What happened next will be talked about across the galaxy for generations. The Eternal Vigil didn't fire weapons in any traditional sense. Instead, it reached out with tools that touched the fundamental forces of reality. A beam of controlled energy passed harmlessly through the Coalition flagship. The crew felt nothing, but suddenly holographic images appeared in their minds. Images of their homeworlds as they had been millions of years ago. Images of the first builders teaching primitive ancestors how to use fire, how to work metal, how to reach for the stars. "Do you see?" Captain Rue's voice asked gently. "We were your teachers once. We guided your species from caves to starships. When our time ended, we left you gifts to help you grow." The holographic lesson continued. It showed the great catastrophe that had forced the first builders to abandon most of their empire. A war against something from outside the galaxy. A conflict so terrible that they had scattered their people across distant worlds and hidden the survivors in places like Earth. "We are not your enemies," Captain Rue continued. "We are your family, distant relatives who have been sleeping, waiting for the day when we might be needed again." Commander Volterra felt tears running down her silver cheeks. Her entire worldview was crumbling. The Coalition had built their empire on the foundation of ancient human ruins. They had reverse-engineered technology left behind by the same people they now threatened. But Captain Rue wasn't finished with his demonstration. However, his voice took on a harder edge. "Our patience has limits. Observe what happens when those limits are reached." The Eternal Vigil moved to empty space far from any planets or ships. What it did there made the laws of physics weep. The ancient ship reached out with forces that predated creation itself. Matter began to gather from the void. Hydrogen atoms compressed into heavier elements. Its energy sparked into fusion reactions. In the space of minutes, Captain Rue created a miniature star system. A small sun blazed to life, surrounded by 3 planets that formed from cosmic dust. The worlds cooled and developed atmospheres. Primitive life began to evolve and fast forward across their surfaces. "This is creation," Captain Rue's voice explained. "The power to build worlds and nurture life." Then the demonstration took a darker turn. The Eternal Vigil's tools shifted focus. The artificial star system began to unravel. Planets dissolved back into component atoms. The star collapsed into a controlled singularity that winked out of existence. In moments, the entire system was gone, as if it had never been. "And this is destruction," Captain Rue said quietly. "The power to unmake what was made. To reduce entire star systems to nothing but memory." Captain Park Min-Woo watched the demonstration from Soul's Pride and felt his understanding of humanity change forever. His people weren't descendants of primitive apes who had learned to use tools. They were the inheritors of beings who could create and destroy worlds with a thought. "Commander." Terra finally found her voice. "What do you want from us?" "Only what we have always wanted," Captain Rue replied. "Peace. We want you to leave our children alone to grow and learn in their own time. We want the galaxy to remember that strength comes from helping others, not conquering them. And if we refuse..." Captain Rue's response chilled every alien in the fleet. "Then you will discover why the first builders were feared across 17 galaxies. You will learn why the ancient enemy turned and fled when they saw our ships on the horizon. You will understand what it means to face the full wrath of awakened humanity." The Eternal Vigil began to glow with power that made nearby stars look dim. Deep in its hull, other ancient systems were waking up. weapons that could reach across light years to touch their targets. K. Defenses that could hide entire solar systems from view. Technology that treated the laws of physics like suggestions rather than rules. But that would be wasteful. Captain Rue continued, his voice becoming gentle again. We would prefer to welcome you as family, to teach you as we taught your ancestors, to help you become something greater than conquerors. Science Officer Kethmore looked at his readings and made a discovery that changed everything. Commander, I'm detecting 7 more energy signatures identical to this ship. They're located throughout human space. All of them are beginning to wake up. Commander Velterra realized that her fleet wasn't facing one ancient ship. They were facing the remnants of an empire that had once ruled the galaxy. An empire that had been sleeping for millions of years, waiting for someone to threaten their descendants. The demonstration was over. The choice was now in the hands of the Coalition. They could continue their war against humanity and face the consequences, or they could accept the truth that the galaxy's newest members were actually its oldest and most powerful inhabitants. Captain Rue waited patiently for their answer, surrounded by technology that could reshape reality itself. The myths had awakened, and they were giving the galaxy one last chance to choose wisdom over war. The silence in space lasted for what felt like forever. Commander Velterra stood on her bridge, knowing that her next words would shape the future of the galaxy. Around her, the Coalition fleet waited for orders that could either start the greatest war in history or end it before it began. She looked at the massive human ship on her screens. The Eternal Vigil hung in space like a sleeping giant, its ancient hull glowing with power that made her instruments weep. 7 more ships just like it were waking up across human space. The Coalition fleet that had seemed so mighty an hour ago now looked like children's toys. Open a channel to the human ship, she said quietly. Channel open, Commander, her communications officer replied. Commander Velterra took a deep breath and spoke words that would echo through history. Captain Rue Sang-ho of the Eternal Vigil. I am Commander Velterra of the Coalition fleet. On behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I formally request a ceasefire and permission to open diplomatic talks. Captain Rue's voice came back warm with approval. It's wisdom at last, Commander. I grant your request, but the talks will not be held as conqueror to conquered. They will be held as family members who have been apart too long. Dr. Kim Dae-ho received the call while he was still underground, looking at ancient symbols. Within hours, he found himself aboard a Coalition shuttle, heading to the neutral meeting zone between Earth and the alien fleet. He had spent his career studying the possibility of alien contact, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The meeting took place aboard the Eternal Vigil itself. Dr. Kim walked through corridors that seemed to be made of living metal, past machines that hummed with power older than recorded history. When he reached the main conference room, he gasped at what he saw. Captain Rue Sang-ho looked completely human, but his eyes held the weight of ages. He had been sleeping for 50,000 years, but he moved with the confidence of someone who remembered when humanity ruled the stars. Commander Velterra sat across from him, looking small and uncertain. Her silver skin seemed pale compared to the warm glow of the ship around them. Behind her sat Science Officer Kethmore and 3 other Coalition representatives. Dr. Kim, Captain Rue said with a smile, welcome aboard. I have been reviewing your research into our ancient sites. You did excellent work with very little information. Thank you, Captain, but I have to ask, what happened? Why did humanity give up the stars? Captain Rue's expression grew sad. Faced an enemy from outside our galaxy, something that fed on civilizations and left only empty worlds behind. The war lasted for centuries and cost us everything. In the end, we chose to scatter our people to distant worlds and hide our greatest treasures rather than let them be consumed. He gestured to screens that showed images from the distant past. Some humans went to worlds like Earth, to start over with simple technology. Others chose to sleep in ships like this one, waiting for the day when our descendants might need guidance. Still, others traveled to the far edge of space to ensure that some part of humanity would survive no matter what happened. Commander Valterra leaned forward. But the enemy is gone now. We hope so. We defeated their main force, but enemies like that have a way of returning when you least expect them. That's why we left guardians behind. That's why ships like mine have been waiting in the dark. Dr. Kim pulled out files containing all of Earth's research into the ancient sites. Captain, we found 12 locations with your symbols. Are there more? Hundreds, Captain Ru replied. Teaching sites scattered across every world where humans lived. Instructions for rebuilding our technology when your people were ready. Warnings about dangers you might face. Coordinates for finding us when you needed help. He touched a control in the room filled with holographic displays showing the galaxy as it really was. Not just the Coalition worlds, but thousands of other systems where human artifacts waited to be discovered. The Coalition has built their civilization on perhaps 1% of what we left behind, Captain Ru explained. There is so much more waiting to be found. Commander Valterra studied the displays with wonder. You're offering to share this knowledge with us. I'm offering to help you remember what you lost, Captain Ru corrected. The Coalition species are all descendants of peoples we guided long ago. You have as much right to this heritage as anyone. Over the following days, the negotiations continued. Ambassador Han Nauri arrived from Earth to represent humanity in the talks. She was a skilled diplomat who had spent years preparing for first contact, though nothing had prepared her for contact with humanity's own ancient past. The terms are simple, Captain Ru explained during one session. Earth will not join the Coalition as a conquered world. Instead, the Coalition will reorganize itself to include humanity as founding members. We will share our knowledge freely, but in return, the galaxy must embrace cooperation over conquest. Commander Valterra had spent days talking with her superiors across Coalition space. The response had been unanimous. Accept whatever terms the humans offered. The alternative was facing technology that could turn their entire fleet into cosmic dust. The Coalition Council agrees, she said. They have questions about how this will work practically. Captain Ru smiled. Let me show you. He activated more systems aboard the Eternal Vigil. Across human space, the other Guardian ships began to wake their sleeping crews. Men and women who had slept for millennia opened their eyes and took command of vessels that made the Coalition's greatest. Ships looked primitive, but these ancient humans didn't come as conquerors. They came as teachers. Captain Park Minwoo was offered command of one of the Guardian ships, Ku, but he chose to remain aboard Soul's Pride. Ku and I belong with the new generation, he told Captain Ru. We'll be the bridge between the ancient and the modern. Lieutenant Yoon Soo-jin became the first modern human to learn ancient navigation techniques. She discovered that her ancestors had built roads through space itself, paths that could take ships across the galaxy in days instead of years. Ensign Lee Taemin found that he had a gift for communicating with the artificial intelligences that crewed the ancient ships. These Ayas had been waiting for thousands of years to share their knowledge with new students. Chief Engineer Oh Byung-ho worked with ancient human technicians to upgrade Earth's ships with technology that had been myth just days before. Soon, human vessels could fold space and create energy from nothing. Professor Choi Hai-won led expeditions to ancient sites across Coalition space, uncovering teaching facilities that had waited millions of years to be rediscovered. Each site revealed new wonders and new knowledge. The galaxy began to change rapidly. The Coalition transformed from a conquering empire into a cooperative federation. Ancient human knowledge helped solve problems that had plagued civilizations. For centuries, diseases were cured with medical techniques from the deep past. Worlds were terraformed using tools that could reshape matter itself. Captain Rue established the new academy on a world near Earth, where representatives from every species could come to learn from humanity's ancient heritage. The school taught not just technology, but wisdom about using power responsibly. Commander Velterra became the first coalition human liaison, working to help other species understand their new place in a galaxy where the myths had turned out to be true. She often reflected on the lesson she had learned. Never assume that quiet neighbors are weak neighbors. Earth took its place not as the newest member of galactic civilization, but as the keeper of its oldest traditions. The planet became a pilgrimage site where beings from across the galaxy came to see where the first builders had made their final home. Dr. Kim Daeho established the Institute for Ancient Studies, where researchers worked to catalog and understand the vast heritage that humanity had left scattered across the stars. Each discovery revealed new depths to what their ancestors had achieved. Years passed. The galaxy learned to live with the knowledge that the species they had dismissed, primitives, were actually their teachers and guides. The ancient humans, who had awakened from their long sleep, worked tirelessly to help younger civilizations grow and prosper. The guardianships patrolled the galaxy's borders, watching for signs of the ancient enemy's return. But they also served as symbols of hope, proof that even in the darkest times, someone was watching over the children of the stars. Captain Rue often stood on his bridge, looking out at the bustling traffic of a peaceful galaxy. Ships from dozens of worlds traveled the ancient roads that his people had built so long ago. The dream of cooperation had finally come true. The myths were no longer myths. They were living, breathing guardians who had kept their promise to protect and guide their descendants. Humanity had returned to the stars, not as conquerors, but as the family they had always been, and in the quiet depths of space, other guardian ships continued their eternal watch, ready to wake if they were ever needed again. The children of the stars were safe, and the legends lived on.